Hello dear students, welcome to the video lecture series on theory course number 5 Horticulture and Floriculture. Today we are going to start with the third chapter, that is Horticulture Methods of Plant Propagation. The lecture will be divided into two parts. So, horticulture. So, let's start with the term horticulture. So, what do you mean by horticulture? So, initially, in the first chapter, we have studied what do you mean by horticulture. So, basically, it is the branch of plant agriculture that deals with the cultivation of garden crops, generally, which includes the fruits, vegetables, as well as the ornamental plants. Now, when talking about the horticulture or the cultivation, plant propagation is a very important aspect. So, the plant propagation means the multiplication of plants or the reproduction in the plants. So, basically, the plant propagates with the help of different methods, which includes the vegetative method of propagation as well as the sexual type of propagation. In vegetative propagation, the propagation is usually carried out with the help of vegetative parts such as the roots, stems, and the leaves. In case of sexual reproduction, which is also termed as seed propagation, it is mainly carried out with the help of the formation of male and female gametes. Now, this plant propagation, it is generally a term which is used for the multiplication of plants, and the main aim of propagation is to achieve increase in the number and to preserve the essential characteristics of the mother plant. Thus, the plant propagation is the process of creating new plants. So, as I earlier mentioned earlier, there are two types of propagation, mainly the sexual propagation and the asexual type of propagation. The sexual propagation, it usually involves the union of pollen and the egg, which is drawn from the genes of two parents, and thus they create a new third individual. Sexual propagation, it generally involves the floral parts of a plant, whereas the asexual propagation, it takes part or it involves any specific part of one parent plant, which causes it to regenerate itself into a new plant. The resulting new plant is genetically identical to its parent. The asexual propagation, it involves the vegetative parts of the plant, which are the stems, roots, or the leaves. Now, in this part, we are specifically going to deal with the sexual propagation in plants. Now, the sexual reproduction or the sexual propagation, it involves the union of pollens, which is the male reproductive structure, and the egg, which is the female reproductive structure, and the process of fertilization occurs. As a result of fertilization, there is a production of seed, and thus the seeds, they are the structures through which the plants they can propagate, and hence this type of propagation is also referred as seed propagation. Now, the structure of the seed, it is made up of three parts. The outermost layer is called as the seed coat, which functions to protect the seed. The second or the middle part is called as the endosperm, which is the food reserve of the seed, and finally the innermost is the embryo, which is the young plant itself. So when a seed matures and when it is put into a favorable environment, it will germinate, and thus a plant will begin to grow. So in this picture, you can see the different stages of germination of the seed. So in this first picture, this is the seed. Here it has started germinating. Then here you can see there is production of radicals and the plumule, and apparently the seed, it grows into a sapling. Then the seed propagation, it is usually a method of plant propagation in which it is usually done with the help of the seeds. So generally in this, there is multiplication of seeds, there is reproduction, and thus the new plants, they are breed. Okay, so these plants produced from the seeds are generally called as the spermatophytes, or generally the plants bearing seeds, they are called as the spermatophytes. So when a mature seed attains an optimal environment or optimal requirements, it will start germinating and thus it will grow actively. So this seed propagation, uh, uh, moreover, it occurs naturally, but many a times it can be done intentionally by the gardeners as well as the farmers. Many gardeners, they often save and grow the ornamental plants and crops from seeds, especially if the plant has many desirable characters. So usually we see this, the farmers, they store the seeds for the coming year, and the next year what they will do, they will propagate the same seeds so that they will be able to grow a desirable crop. And usually the seeds which are stored for the next year, they are of desirable character. So whatever specific requirement is there, whatever desirable characters are there, such seeds they are stored and they are utilized for the next season. Now this is because the seeds, they carry the genetic information of the parent plant, and therefore they may retain the same characteristics of the parent plant. So seed propagation helps to retain the characteristic features of the parent plant. Now what is the importance of seed propagation? So there are various uses or various aspects of this seed propagation. The most promising thing about the seed propagation is that it is the easiest and the least expensive method of plant propagation. So the seeds, they are easily available, they can be easily sown, and thus the plants, they can be cultivated or grown. The cost is comparatively low, so it can be called as least expensive method of plant propagation. Along with this, the seed propagation, it is the only mean of diversity, particularly in the selection of chance seedlings. The seedlings, they are the seedling plants which are grown with the help of seed propagation. They are usually long lived, they are highly productive, and they have greater tolerance to the adverse soil and climatic conditions, as well as different diseases and pests. Seed propagation, it makes feasible to propagate some of the plants like papaya, palash, and coconut, in which the asexual means of propagation is not very common. The hybrids, these are the plants which are uh, cultivated or not cultivated exactly, but these are the plants which are developed by the sexual means only. In these hybrid plants, generally two different plants, they are mixed together, and thus a new third plant can be obtained, and this can obtain only by using the sexual means of propagation. Along with this, the sexual propagation, it also offers opportunities of polyembryony, in which there is production of more than one seedling from one seed. For example, in case of citrus, mango, or jamun plant, and even the apomixis can be attained with the help of sexual propagation. The seeds, these are the source for production of rootstocks for asexual propagation. Now, in case of asexual propagation, there are different methods which we are going to study further. For this asexual type of propagation, rootstocks are essential, and the rootstocks mainly, they are obtained from the seeds. The rootstocks, specifically which are used for the fruit varieties which are budded or grafted, usually they are obtained from the rootstocks. Again, the seeds, if they are stored properly, they can be kept for a longer duration or longer period for the future use. Along with this, the seeds, they are very important as they carry the genetic information about the parent plant, and therefore they retain many of the same characteristics which are present in the parent plant. Now, the next important term is the seed viability. Now, what do you mean by viability? So, seed viability is nothing but the ability of embryo to germinate. So, if we say that the seed is able to germinate, it means that the seed is viable. So, it has the ability to germinate. So, a viable seed is the one which has the capability of germination under suitable conditions. Now this is very important, because until and unless the conditions are favorable, the seeds they will not be able to germinate. Then the seed viability of the seed is a measure of how many seeds are alive and could develop into the plants which will reproduce themselves given the appropriate conditions. So in short, you can say it is the measure of the viability of seeds, or how many seeds out of a stock, how many seeds are alive, and how many of them have the ability to grow into a new plant, and thus they can reproduce themselves. All this it can be attained only if the conditions are appropriate or favorable. Now it is very important to know that the seeds that are stored will grow to produce the plant. So if the seeds they are stored for the future purpose, or the for the next season to be sown, then one must know whether the seeds are viable or not. Otherwise the farmer he will suffer a lot economically. So therefore they must have a high viability at the start and during the storage. So whenever the seeds are stored at the beginning of the storage, the viability it should be very high, and it should continue during the storage process. Then viability it is highest at the point of physiological maturity, and then gradually it starts declining. So whenever the seeds are at maturity, the rate or the ratio of viability is very high, but as the time passes, or as they are stored slowly, there is decline in the viability of the seeds. Now if you see the average lifespan of a seed, it ranges from around 10 to 15 years. For example, some seeds they are very short lived. For example, willow, which in which the seeds they are alive for less than a week. But there are some seeds which may live for years. For example, the mimosa seeds, these they can live up to 221 years. So they are the long lived seeds. Now there are various factors upon which the viability of the seeds is dependent, or the longevity of the seeds is dependent. So the conditions they play a very important role in the seed viability. Specifically, the cold, dry, and anaerobic conditions are highly suitable for the seed viability, or for the storage of the seeds. Now, there are some methods to test the seed viability. Now, first of all, what do you mean by testing of seed viability? So, testing of seed viability is very essential, and to get profit out of the crop production. So, whenever if before sowing we take the viability test, we will be able to know whether the seeds they will germinate or not, and thus it will help us to reduce the loss if the seeds they are not able to germinate. Then the producers or the growers will know whether the seeds they will germinate or not, and thus the growers they will avoid the extra time, extra expenses, and efforts in replanting the seeds if they do not germinate. So this is very important part while storage of the seeds. So for testing of seed viability, there are different methods which are utilized, out of which the first one is the seed box method. In this seed box method, a random number of seeds are taken or selected from the bulk of the seeds, and these seeds they are sown in a box in rows. Now this box it is covered, and the seeds they are laid on a thin layer of soil. Now this box it is watered occasionally, and after about a week of sowing, the germination percentage of the seeds is calculated. Okay, so this method is called as the seed box method, and the result will tell us the viability percentage or the germination percentage of the seeds. Another method which is utilized for testing the seed viability is the ragdoll method. In this method, a rag of convenient size and a stick is taken, and a random number of seeds they are selected from the bulk of the seeds. Now these seeds they are distributed evenly in rows on the rags, Then the a cloth is rolled around the stick for support. This cloth it is moistened and it is placed in warm and moist place. Now this cloth, after a time span of around 5 days, it is unrolled and the percentage germination or germination percentage of the seeds is calculated. Thus we can get the number or the percentage of germination of the seeds, and this method is called as the ragdoll method. Now, another important aspect is the factors affecting seed viability. Now, there are various factors due to which the seed viability it can be affected. Let's see them one by one. First is the kind or the species of seed. So, the seed viability during storage is mainly influenced by the kind or the species of the seed. Uh, why so? Because some of the seeds they are short lived and some of them they are long lived. So depending upon the lifespan of the seeds, the seed viability it can also vary. Now the seeds which are specifically short lived, they germinate immediately after harvesting if they are not allowed to dry. So usually what we do, even at our house we see, whenever we bring some grains, especially wheat or wheat like grains, we usually sun dry them so that the moisture content from them is totally lost, and so they can be stored for a longer period. Okay, so if not dried properly, these seeds they will start germinating easily. So this is because the species, this depends on the kind or the species of the seeds, and thus during the storage of the seeds, losses can be or there may be a problem due to which there will be loss in the seeds. Okay, then the second factor which affects the seed viability is the moisture content of the seed. Now the stored moisture content of the seed is one of the very important factors that affect or influence the viability of the stored seeds. Usually the moisture content of around 4 to 6% is favorable for prolonged storage, but very low moisture content below 4% it will cause desiccation in the seeds, and thus the seeds they will get damaged. Even the dry climate it is very favorable for prolonged storage of seeds, whereas the humid conditions they allow shorter seed life, because due to the humid conditions or humidity, the seeds they will start germinating. So the dry climate it is very effective for the longer storage of the seeds. Now the storage it should be usually done in the sealed moisture resistant containers, so that it can maintain the viability of the seeds. The next important factor in seed viability is the temperature. So the temperature it also plays a very important role in regulating the viability of the seeds. The reduced temperatures results in lengthening the storage life and can offset the adverse effect of high moisture content. So usually the storage of seeds at a very low temperature will increase the storage life of the seeds, and it will reduce the moisture content of the seeds. Thus it will help to what you can say uh, help the seeds to keep viable. Then as a thumb rule, the storage life of seeds is nearly doubled for each 1 degree decrease in seed moisture content, or for drop of 2.5 degrees Celsius in storage temperature. So it is a rule that if we decrease the moisture content by 1%, or there is a drop of 2.5 degrees Celsius in the temperature, the storage life of the seeds it will be doubled. Then the next important factor in seed viability is the storage atmosphere. Now if we want to store the seeds for a longer period, attempts should be made for modifying the storage atmosphere, such as creating vacuum, increasing the carbon dioxide concentration, or by replacing oxygen with nitrogen. So this will help to reduce the metabolic activities inside the seed, and thus the seed, it can be stored for a longer duration. Along with this, the relative humidity of the storage atmosphere, it also plays a very important role in regulating the activity of the microorganisms. So many a times there are some microorganisms which can infect the seeds, and to keep a check on the activity of microorganisms, the relative humidity of the storage atmosphere, it should also be reduced. Then most of the storage fungi, they become completely inactive below 62% of relative humidity, and there is less activity below 75%. So as you can see, the amount of relative humidity, or the percentage of relative humidity, if it is below 62%, the fungi, they will become inactive, and thus the seeds, they will not get damaged, and subsequently they can be stored for a longer period of time. Now, along with the seed viability, there is another term called as seed treatments. Now these seed treatments, they are very important part for treating the seeds so as to get maximum yield or maximum production within short period of time. So these seed treatments, these are the biological, physical and chemical agents, as well as techniques which are applied to the seeds to provide protection and to improve the establishment of healthy crops. Now, these seed treatments, they play a very important role in improving the establishment of healthy crops. Now, what are the advantages of this seed treatment? So the seed treatments, it protects the germinating seeds and seedlings against the soil and seed borne pathogens, as well as the insects. So if we treat a seed with the help of certain chemical agents, it will help the seed uh, to protect itself against some of the microorganisms, as well as some of the insects. Then it also enhances the germination rate of the seeds. Along with that, a early and uniform establishment and growth of the seeds is achieved with the help of seed treatments. It also enhances the nodulation in case of the leguminous crops. Then again, it is better than soil and foliar application. So as compared to the what we can say, insecticides and pesticides which are given through the soil or as a foliar application, instead of using those, these seed treatments, they can prove better, or they can give us the better results. Along with that, the uniform crop stand, even in adverse conditions such as the less or high moisture contents, can be attained with the help of the seed treatments. Now there are different methods or procedures for seed treatment. Let's see them one by one. So seed treatment, it is a term that describes both products and processes. The so the result of the seed treatment is, it can be called as the product of the seed treatment, or it can also be called as the process of the seed treatment. And this seed treatment, it can be done in one of the following types. So the first type is the seed dressing. So this is one of the very common methods used for seed treatment. In this, the seed, it is dressed either with a dry formulation or a wet treated with a slurry or liquid formulation. So usually a powder or a liquid, it is coated, or the seeds are coated with a dry powder or a liquid or a slurry. These dressings, they can be applied at the farms as well as at the industrial level. So immediately or on a small scale basis also, and on a commercial basis also, this seed dressing, it can be carried out. Then for this procedure, low cost earthen pots, they can be used for mixing the pesticides and the seeds. So we can take a earthen pot, we can add the formulation in this pot, and eventually we can add the seeds which can be uh, coated with this formulation, and then we can just spread these seeds on a polythene sheet, uh, and the quantity of chemicals, it can be required amount of quantity can of the chemicals can be sprinkled on the seed lot, and it can be later on mixed mechanically by the hands by the farmers. Then the second sorry then the second important procedure for seed treatment is seed coating. Now, seed coating is a kind of special binder which is used in the formulation to enhance the adherence to the seed. So, here, along with the formulation, whether it may be a dry formulation or a liquid formulation, along with this formulation, a special binder is also added so that the seeds, they will get adhered to that formulation. So the what so what you can say, the formulation, it will be properly sticked around the seeds, and this requires somewhat advanced technologies, and thus this method, it is usually performed in the industries. Then the third and important method for the seed treatment is seed pelleting. Now, the seed pelleting, it is one of the most sophisticated seed treatment technologies, which results in the a change in the physical shape of the seed, and it enhances palatability as well as handling of the seeds. This pelleting, it requires some specialized application machineries and techniques, and mostly it is a very expensive type of procedure. Now, along with this, there are some of the other methods which are also used for seed treatments, out of which the first sorry out of which the first method is the chemical method, or it is also called as acid scarification. Now, this acid scarification, it is a technique which is usually utilized to soften the hard seed coat. So usually we know the outermost covering of the seed, which is called as the seed coat, is very hard in nature. So due to this, the seeds, they are not able to germinate easily. So to facilitate easy germination, the seeds, they can be soaked in the acids so that the seed coat, it will get softened, and thus the seeds, they will be able to germinate easily. For this, generally the seeds, they are soaked in concentrated sulfuric acid. The time of treatment, it can vary from 10 minutes to 6 hours according to the species. So some seeds, they may take around 10 minutes to get scarified, while some of the other seeds, they may also take up to 6 hours. Then after the treatment, the seeds, they are properly washed with water so that they are made acid free, and then they are immediately sown in the soil. For example, the seeds of bear, cotton, asparagus, these are treated with around 50% of concentrated H2SO4 for 3 to 5 minutes. So this will result in the acid scarification of these seeds, and thus they can be washed and sown immediately. The second method is the mechanical scarification. In this, some of the seeds, they have a very hard seed coat, and thus the coat, it is impermeable to water, so that the water, it cannot enter the seed, and without water, the seeds, they will not be able to germinate, and therefore such seeds, they should be made permeable, and for making them permeable, the mechanical scarification method, it is utilized. In this method, usually the seeds, they are rubbed with the help of sandpapers so that the seed coat, it will get thin. Thus the seeds or the water, it can easily percolate through the seed coat. Now, even in some cases, instead of sandpapers, the hammers, they can also be used, but the care should be taken that these seeds, they should not get injured. If the seeds, they get injured, they will not be able to germinate. For example, the hammers, they can be used in case of lotus plants which have a very hard seed coat, and for the normal germination, it may take around one month. So instead of waiting for 1 month, if the seeds they are scarified with the help of hammers or with the help of sandpapers, the time taken for germination it will be less. Then another important method is the stratification, or which is also called as the soaking in water. So generally many a times what can be done, the seeds they can be soaked in the hot water for few seconds, and then immediately they should be transferred in the cold water for around 24 to 48 hours, and this will soften the seed coat and wash off the inhibitors. What are the inhibitors? These are the factors which restrict or which prohibit the seeds to germinate. For example, in case of cardamom seeds, this method it can be followed or utilized. Then again, in some cases the seeds they can be soaked in running water for around 8 to 13 hours, which will also help to remove the inhibitors. Such method is utilized in case of beetroots. Another important method is the cold stratification or the moist chilling. Now, in many of the woody plants, such as the apples, plums, they require moist chilling treatment to break the dormancy. So, the seeds they undergo the phase called as dormancy period, in which they are not able to germinate, or which is also called as the resting phase of the seeds. So, to break the dormancy, most of the seeds they uh, specifically in case of woody plants they require the chilling treatment. Then during the cold stratification or the chilling treatment, the seeds they are exposed to abundant moisture, ample of oxygen, and relatively cool temperature. So maximum moisture level it will help the seed to help the seed for easy germination. The next important sorry the next important treatment is the dry storage. So it promotes the after ripening in certain seeds which are dormant when freshly harvested. So specifically the seeds in the fresh condition they are able to grow immediately, but if we uh, dry them properly they will attain a dormancy phase, and thus they can be stored for a longer period. Then the freshly harvested seeds of many annuals and herbaceous plants they fail to germinate until after a period of dry storage. So some of the seeds even at the when they are harvested freshly they are not able to germinate, because and only after giving a period of dry short storage they are able to germinate. So some of the seeds they need a storage period or a dry storage period wherein they can rest, and then only they are able to germinate. So such post harvest dormancy it may last from few days to several months. So depending upon the variety or depending upon the species, some may take around a few days and some may take around several months. So in this way we have come to the end of the first part, and the next topic from the same chapter will be continued in part 2. Thank you.